Hello, Benjies, and Happy New Year. We are the BingeWorthy podcast. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I have my co-host, the lovely Miss Courtney Scott Wright, Rakasti, and Chuck Babb. And we are talking BingeWorthy, part of the Geekish Network. Hey, how y'all doing? How's everybody doing? Happy New Year. How's everybody?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good stuff. So, the premise of our show is that each week we will binge watch a television series, and then we come right here to the BingeWorthy podcast to talk about that series. At the beginning of our show, we are going to rate it using our unique BingeWorthy scale. Then we engage in conversation. We talk about plots, we talk about characters, we talk about animation styles, the full spectrum of that property. And at the end, we are going to re-rate it. Now, sometimes, just maybe sometimes, one of our illustrious co-hosts can influence us to change that rating. And sometimes they may influence us to lift it up. And at other points, it drags it all the way down to the floor. Speaking of our binge-worthy scale, it is as followed. At a number 5, that is what we call a full binge out. That means this property is outstanding. It is dynamic. It is a can't miss. At a number 4, we call that a full meal. A full meal is not quite a full binge out, but it is definitely worth your time to invest in watching it. At a number 3, that's what we call a mini meal. A mini meal. A mini meal, it is not bad. It's just not good either. Courtney, she always calls it a bland ass TV dinner, and I say without any of that lavish seasoning sprinkled in. And then at a number 2, we call that a snack. A snack is just basically an old bag of Cheetos left up in the cabinet because you're too lazy to go out and get something to eat. We've had a couple occasions where some people like to break out the Cheetos fingers when they thought the quality of the show was a snack. And at a number 1, that is what we call a cringeworthy. A cringeworthy is just some old bullshit. And I like to say, why the hell did we waste our time watching that? Tonight, if you were not a part of Crosstalk, you would know then that we are watching Mythic Quest Season 3. The premise of Mythic Quest is the series follows a fictional video game studio in production called Mythic Quest, a popular MMORPG run by the game's creator and the creative director, Ian Grimm. At the start of the series, the studio is about to release a major expansion to the game titled Raven's Banquet. Well, that's season 1. But we're talking about season 3. What we're going to do right now is we're going to jump in with our first initial rating. So I'm going to start with you, Rakai. How are you going to rate Mythic Quest season 3?
As much as I hate to do this, I think I'm at a I'm gonna go with a mini meal.
A mini meal? Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed season 1 and season 2, but 10 episodes in the season, the first half of the season, it was hard. It was very hard for me. I kept falling asleep. It took a long time for me to get into it. The second half of the season, I really liked and it picked up. But yeah, if it wasn't for the second half of the season, it'd have been at a snack. So mini meal.
All right, we got a mini meal. Chuck, how are you going to rate season 3 of Mythic Quest?
I'm giving it a full meal.
Give it a full meal? Okay.
Yep. I literally binged it in one day. So
you want to elaborate anything or just full meal?
It's a full meal. I think they did jump the shark on the game development side a little bit of how fast they move through things, but I enjoyed the relationship between all the characters and who they became as the season went on.
Okay.
And how they even foreshadowed some of them.
Okay. I'm going to jump in here next. Mythic Quest, right? When I first heard about Mythic Quest a couple of years ago, it's on Apple TV, and I thought to myself, why do the people who make my iPhone and iPad want to get into content development? And I thought it was ridiculous. And so I got a new iPhone for around like Christmas, and I had no plans on watching Mythic Quest or any show on Apple TV at all. And so I think conversations with you guys convinced me to watch it, and we might have even watched it for the show. And after I watched that first episode, I was just hooked. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It was literally one of those game changers. And I thought about just letting my Apple subscription expire, but because I wanted to see Mythic Quest again, I renewed my subscription to Apple Plus. That's literally how good it was to me. And then when I watched Ted Lasso, that just took it to another level. But that's another conversation for another day. This season, we pick up around a year or so after last season. And while I didn't think the jokes were hitting as hard, I still did enjoy it. I thought the writing in it was really good from the beginning to the end. I liked a lot of the decisions that they made. It wasn't perfect, but again, I enjoyed it. Had I watched this the first time when I was debating whether to renew my subscription, it might not have caused me to renew it. But since I already have it, I'm fully invested in this property. And that's a long way for me to say I am giving it a full meal. I enjoyed the season, and I'm looking forward to season 4 if we get another season. All right, Courtney, bring us on home. What are you going to do? How are you going to rate Mythic Quest season 3?
Well, like Rakai, I just kept falling asleep. I like you, Randy, like you, I am a diehard Mythic Quest fan. I loved season 1, loved season 2. I didn't have anything bad to say, and I was just so excited about watching this series. And I remember starting the first episode of season 3, like right when it came out, and I was so excited to watch it. And then I watched it, and I was just like, that was forgettable. That was just okay. And then I tried to watch episode 2, and like I thought, okay, let me just see where episode 2 goes. And I stopped episode 2 halfway because I was like, okay, I got other things that I could be doing right now. And I just never really came back to it. And then I was like, okay, we're watching this for the show. And I just kept falling. I could not get through episode 3. So I finally, made it through a chunk of other episodes. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't finish. And I had to tell you, you know how Centel always talks about, does a show pass the phone test? This season did not pass the phone test. Every other season, I was invested. The jokes were hitting. The relationships were like on fire and just super, super funny. I will say the one thing about this season that was different, and that could be what confused me, was there was this amount of groundedness in this season that was not there in previous seasons. It was just the chaos of the game makers fed into the chaos of the season and the show itself. And I think that supported me, at least, in going along this journey with these chaotic creators. Everybody's quirks were entertaining. Everybody's stuff was like, it went into almost like being a character. And this was just super sedate. Like everybody was just like in their feelings or just comfortable. That's what it was. Everybody was super comfortable, which made me uncomfortable. So, I didn't have any Cheetos, but
So we're going with a snack.
yeah.
All right.
I made it to episode 8.
That gives us a cumulative score of 3.25. So that's going to give us right at a mini meal. So we're coming in at a mini meal for season 3. All right. So since the last season, I think about a year has changed in the world of Mythic Quest. We pick up around a year later, and there's been a lot of changes with the various characters in episode 1. So I want to talk about the episode 1 of how it kicked things off. We meet Poppy and Ian in their new dig. So I'm going to start with you, Chuck. Chuck, what'd you think about Ian and Poppy in this first episode? Their relationship and how they've grown or not grown.
I thought it was indicative of what concept and pre-production stage is. Like you only hire the people that you need, and it was just them. And and Ian with his ego made this futuristic place where there's no doors. You don't see any of the doors. The walls are screens. You don't even know where the elevator is or how to open the elevator. And I'm thinking that's so Ian. And then I liked how Poppy was like, she's in the middle of the floor, and right there when you hop out the elevator, you see her. And I was like, this is hilarious. Who's working on this game and where are they going to put the people? But it's just them doing their pre-production with the money they have, right? So I thought that was interesting. I actually liked The Office. I thought Office was really cool. It reminded me of Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's Scream video. And I think that's where I first had my first laugh. I was like, because I think it was purposely made that way. Like I think Charlie Day was like, make it like the Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson Scream video. And I was like, yes, that just nails it for me. Because
I have a
those
question.
two.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. And they scream at each other. Go ahead.
Oh, so my question was, in the pilot, Ian told her to pass on, if we don't get this number, then we're going to pass. Then they got above that number. They got offered 25 million. And Poppy passed, right? And Ian was like, what do you mean you passed? Why'd you pass? She was like, you told me to pass. Then later episodes, episode 6, Poppy is telling Dana, well, I'm trying to run an 8-figure company. You passed. Did she go back and ask for the money?
I took it that that was the original amount that they had. It was more like a couple $1 million.
They ran an 8-figure. That's what they got from Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
Mythic Quest was an 8-figure company. Mythic Quest was the actual game. Mythic Quest was,
and that was the seed money I got. That it was like a multi-million-dollar game. They needed additional money to keep it going.
They need $50 million to actually do the development for the game. They were still in pre-production stage.
So did they
their
get
phase, they were in pre-production. They were still pitching the game.
Here's another problem, and I need you, Chuck, to clarify this for me, because I couldn't get this factor out of my head, and this screwed me up for the entire season. Hera is the property that Poppy created when they were still at Mythic Quest. They were still at Mythic Quest. It was the one that they rejected in favor of Ian's thing, but Ian told her that Hero was a great thing. We should take it and we should create it. Yes. Now, I understand that Ian and Poppy created Mythic Quest, but they did have stakeholders and shareholders and people in Montreal who basically kind of owned a large portion of Mythic Quest. So you tell me, how did Poppy and Ian take intellectual property that was created at Mythic Quest and create a whole new company based on that?
Because it was passed over. So in gaming, it's
work how is it not work product?
It's not work product because it's a pitch. It's like, this is the ongoing product.
Even though she created it at Mythic Quest for Mythic Quest.
They can pass on it. Yeah.
They can pass
on it, but it's still work product.
If you pass on it,
once you pass on it, the original creators take it with them. It's like if you wrote a script, and you hand it to Universal and they passed on it, you can still shop it at Netflix. You can still
but I'm not an employee of Universal. Poppy is an employee.
They're not employees. The publisher is the people in Montreal. They're the publisher. They're the same as Universal, Netflix, Sony Pictures. Then studios are their own production companies. You're not actually working for them. You're creating a game that they publish.
Okay.
That's how.
All right. That's good to know. Because I was like,
it's
taking Hera.
It's similar to. It's not like Apple, where Apple's products are apples. It's like when you play Call of Duty, you play Sledgehammer's Call of Duty, Infinity Ward's Call of Duty, or Treyarch's Call of Duty. There are 3 different Call of Duty games, and they're all 3 different. And so you play in one of 3 different games that come out.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for the clarification.
Publisher. It'll be the same publisher that publishes
Activision
Call of Duty, but they'll let different studios work on different iterations of the game. I got you.
But let's say somebody came. Sorry, my one last question. Let's say somebody came and pitched Call of Duty Interstellar, and they passed on it.
They passed on
it. Can they take that someplace else?
I can take that somewhere else.
Even though it's called Call of Duty,
Hera's
you just
just a
changed the
code
name.
name. Hera's just a code name. It's not the real. It's not the official release name of the product. It's Hera.
But to her point, if Activision passes on Call of Duty Interstellar, like I made this game as a Call of Duty game, and Activision said, "Nah, we're not interested."
Yeah.
You can take that game, but it can't be called Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Yeah, it won't be called Call of Duty.
Okay.
Like Hera was a standalone game for Mythic Quest. When she was making Hera for Mythic Quest, it was an expansion of Mythic Quest. So it had been a standalone thing. It had been its own thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool. Okay.
Sorry, Randy.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Rakai, we see Joe and David. You know, they've got a relationship going on. It's changed since the last time we finished in season 2. What'd you think about their relationship for this first episode in season 3?
I don't know. Joe is one of my favorite characters. Joe is absolutely psychotic, and I love it. I don't know. I think I wasn't really feeling it, and I mean, I'm glad that David kind of got his mojo back or whatever, and still, Joe pushing him along. But I don't know, like from Joe going to being the disciple of Brad to David, who I don't know, like she took David on as like a project or whatever, because after Iron quit and Brad goes to prison, I don't know. I guess she needed some direction. She needed a project. So I mean, I get it. And she kind of reinvented him, and I'm trying to say, I mean, I guess I gotta say it because I love the way it ended.
You can say it. Please tell me. I need a reason to continue watching because right now I don't have one.
Yeah, I mean the best couple episodes are the last ones. The way she made David fire her and then put on that bullshit charade in the office, that was
hilarious.
That was fantastic.
I was on the ground rolling at it.
That was fantastic. The way she made him man up and grow a sack, dealing with Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
Like, she tricked him and turned the damn mic on. Like that was great. Like I love everything about Joe.
Yeah, that's something that's been ongoing during the season. I saw that every time that David would say something under his breath, and she would encourage him to say it out loud, and he never would.
I love when Joe went to brunch with old girl
Poppy and Dana.
Poppy.
Oh, not Dana, the other one.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. Because I just thought it was funny I thought it was funny just when she came in, because I love how she did not understand the concept of brunch at all. That's what I loved about it. And she came in, she's like, "What do you do for a living?" I was like,
"Why are there so many people here? They don't have jobs."
You're able to go to brunch, the same shit that you do, or whatever. But I love how like she kept missing all of the social cues, and then when they got just hammered, and she put them in the car and told us, she's like, "Now this is how I do brunch," and took them to the range where they drove the damn tank. I was like, see, that, they went to brunch just because that was a norm for them. This is what people do, and this is us, getting out of the office for, instead of really working on what was, like going to the range was therapy. And they weren't getting that. They thought they were going to go to therapy at brunch, and then they got all weepy and shit, and just Joe gets it, and I like it.
So Carol is my favorite.
So for both of y'all, then, since we jumped right into it, then did Joe have an arc, right? Because we see her at the Christmas party. When we see her at brunch, she doesn't even know the idea of friendship. She doesn't even get the idea of brunch. At the Christmas party, she makes a legitimate effort to be friends, or she assumes that they are friends. She literally makes them a present, and she's like, "Oh, did I do it
special things?"
Yeah,
yeah, doing special things.
Yeah, and then she says, and then according to you started, she says, "Oh, so you messed up friendship. I did it right." So, do we have an arc with Joe's character, or it's just kind of still the same old Joe?
I
thought that was a great moment.
I thought we had an arc with Joe. I thought her and all her relationships, they evolved. Even her relationship with Brad evolved, and she went back to her old boss because going away with Brad would end up in jail, and Brad kind of abandoned her. Her old boss was still there for her. And then when she went to the tank thing, she was like, okay, friends. Like she was really excited because she
Yeah.
finally made friends. Because friends go to brunch, friends blow up shit in tanks.
That was
And,
awesome.
And she
I
said
thought
she
that-
ends it with friendship. She said, "Oh, that's friends."
yes.
As in, like that light went off in her head. So, but then we see her kind of do her own way. So I'm wondering, is there an arc? Is there a change, or is she just kind of, or
Yeah,
maybe she
because
just evolved?
when she comes up with the idea for David to fire her, she said, with where David was at, he needed to be respected in the office. And the only thing that she saw that she could do to help him, on top of the fact that she was stretching, she found some friends, she figured a few things out. She needed a new challenge. She was pretty much done with David.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that she kind of sacrificed herself to help David, help the company, but to go find her path. And it's ironic, but it was great that it just so happened to be that Brad had the same revelation for himself, and Dana had the same revelation for himself. And I love the fact that my three favorite characters of the show were on the elevator together at the end and said, we are gonna turn into the Justice League on these bitches.
We're
I,
gonna talk about that.
Get there.
I,
I thought Rachel even had that. I think
Rachel, that's her name.
Rachel even had that story where she went from but Brad changed her from the hippie loving do-gooder to straight capitalist. She was ready.
yeah,
I got the money,
that,
bitch. I got the. She didn't realize Brad was playing her, grooming her the whole entire time.
he said
And
that.
this was so interesting about that scene. He goes, cause he goes, if I'm Palpatine and your girlfriend Rachel is Vader, who are you? She says, I'm Yoda, bitch. And she
Yeah.
walks out. And
I
then
was
at the
glad that
end
she
of-
didn't say she was like Aunt Padme.
Then at the end of the whole entire thing, you realize she's Anakin turned Vader.
I was thinking she was Padme. Which one? Who, Rachel or Dana?
Dana was Anakin turned Vader. She was like, I'm not dealing with Mythic Quest. I'm not going to Mythic Quest. And right now, Ian and Poppy got some shit they need to work out. I'm going to start my own thing. And Brad was like, oh, yeah, I'm coming with you. We're going to take both these shits down.
I thought she was Palpatine. Dana was Palpatine. I thought she was dope.
Nah,
No, I definitely think that she was a Panakin.
Brad is still
She's Panakin. She's Anakin. She's definitely Anakin turned
Anakin,
into Vader
yeah.
because I could see that going when Poppy told her,
Go to her desk.
if once you get him in your ear, you'll never get him out of your ear. And I knew that she was trying to tell her. You're talking about Ian. I knew she was trying to tell her right. But I also felt like she was doing the same. She was learning from both of them, which is what ultimately. But she said, "You guys paid me to go to school. I went to school, and now I'm here, and you don't want to do anything with me." And like then she started to develop this relationship with Ian, and they had all these things in common. And then she starts spending time with Poppy, like trying to like get Poppy out of herself and realize, Poppy, this is what you did. Like my school really, all of my students, all of my classmates really loved your little playpen that you just thought was horseshit. You just gave me something to do, and it's actually really good.
Yeah.
No, but you missed it, Courtney. So then when Dana finally convinced Poppy, this is what we need to do. We need to be working on this. You need to pitch this, right? They went to the damn pitch meeting. That shit was hilarious because Dana trying to teach Poppy how to sell herself and how to get through the pitch, and she sounded just like Ian. Like it was uncanny how she sounded just like
Dana had her sounding like Ian.
But then when they went to the pitch meeting, and the guy sitting at the VC, he said, "Oh wow, that was a great pitch. Okay, pass." And then Dana found out, and she's like, Poppy said, "Well, why did you pass?" He said, I think it was when we offered you like 100 million and you told me to sick your duck or some shit like that." And Dana was like, "Wait, you went to the same motherfucker who passed?"
who you told suck your duck?
Right. And see, it comes full circle. And I thought that was really cool about the series, because the series starts off about that, and that's exactly where we end at. And we see Poppy just kind of just messed up.
And what we realized about Dana thought she was there to serve under two greats, Ian and Poppy. Once you realize, Dana comes to this realization, I have all the best parts of Ian and I have all the best parts of Dana. So
So
why
why
the
am I
fuck
here?
why do we need them?
Yeah, why am I here?
Why am I here? Neither
I
one of them really want me here. Ian dotes over me because he thinks I'm just like him. Poppy ignores me because she doesn't think I'm good enough to be her. But I realize what's good about this company, and I'm as creative and as brilliant as Ian, and I can code just like Poppy.
Yeah. And I thought it was a real
Like-
boss move, especially from where we left her last season. Because last season,
Mhm.
remember, she couldn't pass the test to go to the school of her choice. She didn't have a job. It was almost like Ian and Poppy took mercy on her. But
Mhm.
now she bossed up a whole level and
did.
she's striking out on her own. So I thought she had the best arc in the whole season.
Me too.
I love the fact that when she stopped the elevator and turned around and said something about striking out on her own, she didn't even get to actually ask Joe. And
They were like,
Brad,
we're with you
yes,
already.
we're in.
We're in.
And that is indicative because remember, Joe is attracted to power and
Mhm.
success.
And Dana was
Alpha.
flexing, and
And
Dana
Dana
was
is
flexing.
oozing it. She's exuding it. So like
on the elevator?
having
Did Rachel go
having
too?
No.
No,
She talked to Rachel.
she's the new
Yeah.
you know,
the
she's the
monetization.
Monetization
the
of
homie.
The new
Mythic
homie.
Quest.
Yeah.
Mythic Quest.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Carol turning into the howdy doody.
Howdy doody. That was the
Carol
best.
is
Are you the howdy doody?
You're the howdy doody.
Oh Lord. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Uh,
It was Curl's arc was amazing too. Let me talk about how
Yeah.
it started though. When we found out that CW died.
and that
Yeah.
was one of my questions.
That
How do
was
we
a-
feel
I
about
thought-
that?
I thought
That
that was
was
a
weird.
amazing pinch point. I thought it was amazing.
CW is one of, and I understand it was probably. Well, no, I think he got a new show.
Well, he
I
was
think he's
on
on-
White Lotus. He was on White
Mhm.
Lotus.
On White
Mhm.
Lotus. Mhm.
And he got nominated for a Golden Globe. So maybe that's what the offer was better for White Lotus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I kind of understand, but he was one of the
Yeah.
best parts of the show. He was one of the funniest parts of, but for me, it's the relationship of all of them together. And it makes sense that you guys tell me that the back half of it was better because they're spending more time together as an ensemble. Poppy and Ian alone, they're not interesting to me. You need the David, you need the Carol, you need the little white lady receptionist who was in the basement who said, I can't be
She's
up here with you
amazing,
guys.
ain't it?
Oh.
She's amazing. Curl.
She's
yeah.
Packed on her
No,
shit
not
up and
Carol.
went back to the
Carol's
basement.
the black lady.
Curl's the black
Carol's
lady.
the black lady.
uh,
I forgot her name, but she's
Forgot her
amazing.
name.
Because when they were trying, she told them like, "Don't do an FT,
Sue?
NFT." Sue.
She told him.
Yeah,
Sue.
yeah. She was like, "They're going to hate it."
Yeah.
Then they're going to hate me.
She packed up and grabbed all her
She's like,
stuff.
I'm going back to the
I'm going back to the
basement.
basement.
Y'all come in here too much. Y'all talk too much.
Golly. What's
Because
that?
the show is cracked. They're unraveling, and at the beginning in the pilot, or the beginning of season 3, it's as if they have everything together, right? It's like, oh, Iron and Poppy, they're doing their thing. Joe and David are doing their thing. Brad's reform, but it's like, no, this shit is unraveling at the seams.
No, Brad is still the mastermind. He's still masterminding everybody. He's masterminding Carol. That was his first, foray back into the fold, was like, getting Carol to rehire him as the janitor. And then him like really kind of like mentoring Carol to like get more. And then honestly, I feel like the person who also leveled up, and this is in the top half of the season, which was really hard for anybody to do, I think. But Rachel was actually interesting. Rachel has never been interesting to me in the entire first 2 seasons, except for that scene in the car with her and Ian in season 2. That was the best written scene that I have really ever seen. I mean, in a car, it was so well done. It just stands out. You know what I mean? Like everything he said to her, everything he made her realize. It's like in that one scene, she grew up so much. And then moving forward into the beginning of this season, I really liked that she, first of all, hated college, hated grad school, and didn't know how to tell anybody, but just kept coming back because she didn't know where else to be. And every time Carol was like, we fired, like, you don't work here. Why are you here? Like, it was just so funny.
She was
No,
dumb.
I think that
Overrated.
that scene,
She was
that
stupid.
scene that that Rachel had with Ian in the car, Poppy had with Ian on the roof.
Mm.
It was a similar scene where she was like,
Yeah, with their
you never went anywhere. I always told you to leave, but you never went anywhere because it was your game. And so you're always there. Then it became my game. You're never here.
Yeah, but then when he admitted he didn't want to work on her game,
Yep.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what do we think about Ian this season? Because he's not the Ian from the first 2 seasons. He's
He's kind of lost.
He's directionless, and we know it. And it's brooding. I think the culmination of it when he basically tells her, "I don't want to work on this game because it's not me." So, do we like?
She never wanted him.
Do we like wondering Ian, or do you not feel like he's wondering?
We don't like wondering Ian, but I think getting that amount of that little bit of insight where they did, because it seemed weird at first for them to do the backstory, showing Ian and Poppy as kids, but it kind of helped to understand their motivations and why they are the way they are, and it kind of came full circle when Ian was explaining his point at the end, his huge revelation.
Yeah.
Which actually made sense in the way he laid it out. I think it made more sense because I saw that episode. I was like, and I really like it. Kind of interests me. I was like, man, what the hell was wrong with his mom? Because his mom she was all the way up, and then she was
down, depressed.
Down, like,
manic
depression. Like that is Jekyll and Hyde depression for your ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt like at the end of that show, they should have put up one of them little, the little signs they call the hotline for.
You know what made that great? His name was Ian.
Yeah.
His mother and his grandfather allowed him to call himself Ian because he wanted to be different.
Yeah, and he told his father that wasn't his name, and his father was like,
his name.
Yeah.
His father was like, no. He turned to his grandfather and said, his name is Ian because his father's name is Ian too.
Yeah. I thought that was actually one of the best episodes of the whole series.
It was one of the best episodes.
Just went into.
I thought that at the end of it. How him and Poppy met in the classroom,
right?
And he had that ridiculous ass beard,
and you like see, but it's like, yeah, that's of course who Ian would be. He'd be like a professor with a beard, telling them that everything that they were doing was wrong.
Wait a minute. How about he was in all white linen?
Like, like, that's exactly who he is. It's like, yes, that is Ian. And it's like Poppy, and he's trying to tell jokes with her, and she's missing all the social cues, but they're just getting it. Right. And they just get each other. I thought it was great.
But I think it was also too, I thought the interactions, the dynamic of what made Ian like pop as a kid. Like, you see, when he went to school, like it seemed like he was in the principal's office every day for, they were about to put him in remedial classes. They and he's misdiagnosed. So he's a genius who's actually bored. And, they said, they're about to put him in special ed classes because he won't do the assignments as prescribed.
The way they want it done.
He's out in left field. Like,
and his mom is supportive of that.
And that was wonderful. And it was almost, but it was her final act. Because I wonder how much opportunity he had to spend with his mother, and if he ever got back to his mother after his father took him. Like,
I think he was raised by his father because he talks
about
it with
she
his
probably son. It seemed like she passed or went into a facility or something like that. But but that's what made him, her belief in him in that one moment, and the success he had with getting a D on that project, because his teacher said he did the wrong thing, but she at least recognized his effort. That caused him to soar for the rest of his life. It's just like Poppy's dad taking interest in her playing Final Fantasy, and then her focusing on playing the piano because he laid it out in a different way.
Yeah, like the piano's the final boss,
and
I'll buy you what you want. And the first thing she did, what's what she do? I want a bicycle so I can hang out with my older sister who y'all revere.
And then the older sister's like, here comes this retard. She's like,
I'm out, bitch. Fuck you, bitch.
A better bike rider than her, right? And so I guess
that was all a ploy for her to get. But that was all a ploy. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna hang out with my sister for her to get to the library to get on the internet.
Get on the internet.
Genius.
Where she found Ian's game.
Yeah. And so seeing all that, it makes sense for these characters. Like, it's like you knew who these characters were, but you see the flashback, you're like, of course, this is how they were.
And she's a day oneer. She was day one with Ian.
Yeah. They didn't even have to talk to each other. Like, it's like they were just in sync from the moment they met.
Yeah. And I was
And
like,
he asked her, like, which game? And she was like, oh, even though it had this and the graphics were shit, I still enjoyed it and it still inspired me.
Yeah, because everybody likes Two Dragons or whatever. She's like, no, it's Ryan.
Yeah.
He was like, Scalia was my game. And he was like, what?
Yeah,
like,
Sorian, the game,
Sorian, yeah.
The game that his mother gave him the courage to because that was the name of his planet, his science project.
For his project, Sorian.
And I thought the project was dope. I mean, he did miss the point.
He did.
But like
his planet doesn't exist. He has a point. How do you know this planet doesn't exist? There's billions of planets we don't know anything about. How can you tell me this one doesn't exist?
Hey, but the way he was explaining his planet was dope. I was like, damn, this shit sounds
and
dope.
his mother recognized that and she was like,
nah, she leaned into everything her son was. She leaned, and I was like, wow, that's a parent. She was like,
but that was the thing that was hurtful. It took 10 episodes for Poppy and Ian to figure their shit out. And by the time, it's like the season's going off by the time they figured out. And he said, we're broken. But the way to fix us is to not do anything.
Not doing that.
Don't do shit. He said,
I can imagine
see it, but I can't build it. You can build it, but you can't see it. And we have to get back to doing what the hell it is that we do.
Yeah.
I was like, that made so much.
Spoiler alert, they go back to Mythic Quest.
Of course they do.
Are we fine with them going back to Mythic Quest?
Yes, because that makes
sense. To Courtney's point, there was no interest in them being off on their own. Like them whole Grim Pop and shit, besides the decadence of their damn offense, there's no interest. There was nothing there. Like I said, the most interesting thing there was Dana.
Yeah,
at the end of season 2, though, it did make sense, right? Because Poppy, the reason they left was because Poppy was going to build a different game, and it looked dope, but it just wasn't going to fit on the Mythic Quest infrastructure.
She didn't let him help. She didn't want him to help. She didn't want him to be involved.
I was talking about them leaving, and so CM tells him, like, of course it didn't work because your work here is done. You all can't take this any further. So that's why they strike out. And it was just interesting to me. I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I'm just conflicted about should they have struck out because they had to leave.
They didn't go far because after the first episode they got.
And maybe that's what it was. They didn't go far enough.
They didn't go far enough.
And maybe that's why we're seeing with the new
cast, they're going to of Mythic Quest, because even Poppy goes back in there and says, and contractually, I have QA and any resources I want from Mythic Quest to use to make my game. Contractually. Because remember she went upstairs and made the old me in QA test her game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the new woke testers.
New QA testers, yes. Yeah. And she says contractually I can come and use anybody I want up here. But what makes it interesting is CW passes away. He told them to strike out on their own. Mm-hmm. Perfect ending to his life. He was like, hey, I planned this just the way it's supposed to be planned. And because I knew I was going to fly over the office at this time if I was dead. And they hop in the elevator at the end of that first episode. We don't know if they went up or down on the floor, but we know they're on a separate floor in the same building. And some video game studios do that. There's been video game studios where you'll have like a Treyarch on floor 13, 14, and 15. And a bunch of guys revolt. They on floor number 9.
So then was the problem that not them leaving, was the problem that they didn't go far enough?
They didn't go far enough.
I don't think, for me, the problem, that's not the problem. The problem is exactly what Ian said. You code and I visualize, but you can't visualize and I can't code. The whole point to him leaving at the end of last season, he said, let's go do your game. He didn't say, just you do it and I'm gonna sit here and watch you. He said, let's go do your game. There was no them. Poppy was so fixated on, I need to do all this by myself. She didn't even utilize his talents
See?
as being who he is. She
And
wouldn't let him
That goes
involve
in
him.
episode they had on
8
the
or
roof.
whatever, yeah, eight or
On the
9,
roof.
they fell out and had that argument.
I had the argument on the roof. Like she's
Yeah.
always told him to leave, but he never would leave the room. He never left. She'd be like, Ian, leave me alone. I'm doing coding. Well, this is the first time where she says, Ian, leave me alone. I'm doing coding. He turned around and leave because he didn't want to work on her game. And he admitted he didn't want to work on her game. It wasn't that she didn't want him there. She was doing the same behavior she did over Mythic Quest, but since he owned Mythic Quest, he stayed in the room. But now, since it was her game, he got up and walked out.
And he was
But
just
she t-
struggling.
But she's always told him to leave. She's like, I always told you to leave, but you never left. Now you're leaving. Why? And he goes, because
That's
it's not my
but
fucking game.
but that was also too because like Ian said, Poppy changed the dynamic too.
Yeah.
Like she always
Yeah.
did what she always did, but in doing Hera or whatever it was that she was doing
She
in
was
doing
the creative
Hera,
director.
she had tunnel vision, and there really was nothing for Ian to do.
He would
That's
never
my
leave
point.
the room. But he would not leave the room.
But
This
he
time,
didn't. But here's the thing. He was always there. He was there. He was around, but she wouldn't let him do anything, even if he was there.
but she did the same behavior she did at Mythic Quest. He was always there at Mythic Quest. She did everything. Her behavior this season was identical to her behavior the first 2 seasons. It's just that he chose to stay in the room when she told him to leave. This season, when she told him to leave, he left. And he said,
But it's also noticeable,
game.
But at MQ, it's noticeable if there's 100 other people to work there. Shit, there's 2 people to work there. It's noticeable if he
But you
disappeared.
never left the room.
But his presence is omnipresent
she
there.
needed.
It's just there.
And
he
he
never, yeah.
he
he's
gave
always
opinions.
there.
He's like, I don't need your opinion right now. What did he do? He'll give the opinion on MQ. I give the opinion. I don't care you don't want it. I'm going to give it to you anyway. This time, he wouldn't even give him an opinion.
Yeah, but you could tell he was even more broke. That whole episode with Joe Manganiello doing the mocap, when David told him off and Ian bitched up, like you could see his tail going between his legs, his head dropped, and like he got bitched out by David and had to leave.
Ian was lost this season. He was lost. He was just kind of meandering around. It doesn't matter if he chose it or not. He was meandering around. Because
we
did not have a sense of purpose.
Because when Poppy went on the roof and he was there, she said something smart to him, just joking around.
Yeah,
he told her, why don't you shut the fuck up?
Right, because it hurt him because he's never been in his vulnerable. I won't say not at Mythic Quest. He hasn't been in his vulnerable position, and he hasn't been that vulnerable with.
That's not true. He had his heart attack, and he was super vulnerable.
Well, like 5 minutes. And then he was right back and she was making fun of him because he had a panic attack. He was like, you didn't even have a heart attack. You had a panic attack because you were dehydrated.
You know, I think that's why the flashback episode was important.
Yeah.
In this season, towards the end too, you could tell Poppy made him feel Poppy was like the principal at his school when he was a little kid.
See that?
Yeah. Because he said when he said you should shut the fuck up, and she was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
All right, why are you taking it so personal? I always talk to you like
the
this.
Dynamic was so broken.
Yeah,
and he was like this, and this, and she's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "You don't want me around. You don't want this." She said, "I have not changed in my behavior. I've told you to leave in Mythic Quest. We were in the Mythic Quest office, but you never left. And today, when you came on my project, you decide to leave."
And my question then, if they go back to Mythic Quest, how is that any different than them being alone?
I don't know.
No, the thing is, but Mythic Quest was failing because they were losing subscribers. So, and they had the perfect thing because the VC told them, he said, for this game to even be profitable, you need at least 12 million people making their own game. So Mythic Quest already had the built-in subscribers to make that happen. And they needed a expansion. You know, it was the perfect partnership.
But
for Playpen,
she wants to be Ian. Like she wants her own thing. Poppy wants her own thing.
She's getting her own thing. Playpen is her thing.
Playpen is her thing.
So then, where's Ian in that?
Ian comes in as
he did MQ.
So he just goes back overseeing MQ, and she goes forward with Hera. Is that what we're
No,
talking?
it's they're
No, she's
co-creative
going forward
directors.
with Playpen. It sounds like
Playpen,
Dana's
Playpen.
building Hera now.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
Playpen.
they're
So
not-
she goes
That's
forward
like
with
Dana's
Playpen.
building Cleopatra or some shit.
She goes forward with Playpen, and he
Dana's
goes
building
back
Cleopatra.
over
No,
Yes,
no.
because
Mythic
at
Quest.
the end they kind of made it look like she was taking a Hera code, and Hera became black all of a sudden. So she's building.
Nah, the
So-
cutscene. No, the cutscenes were actually legitimate. They're horrible graphics, but they actually were telling the story of the characters interacting in the real world. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I noticed that.
That's what
when,
I said, because I don't think that Hera. I mean, because Dana was all into doing Playpen.
Playpen.
She was the one that saw the value there.
I think she's gonna make a Playpen competitor.
I think
she's
Dana
gonna-
does whatever the hell she wants to
I
because
think
she's
she is
dope
too.
as hell, and she's going
Yeah.
she's going to succeed at whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, and she's
think
and
that's
Brad
what we
wants
see.
to take down Mythic.
And I think we see them as legitimate. If there's a season 4, I think we
Yeah.
see them as legitimate competitors to Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think that's the only place it can go is that you have to see somebody that they groomed come and take over what they did. It's almost like that very first standalone episode.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Courtney. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like that first standalone episode that I was like, where is this going? Like, this never went anywhere. At least the season 2 one went into CW's story. But I feel like that first one ultimately is telling the story of where Ian and Poppy are going. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like Dana and who Dana is going to become. Dana is going to become their major competitor. And it's like, like the Padawan has now become the Jedi. She's the Ahsoka. To me, she's Ahsoka. She's not Anakin. I think she's Ahsoka.
Yes.
That maybe that's a better analogy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like she takes everything that she learned and realized this is stupid. Y'all not doing this right. And I don't need you
It's all
can't teach me
dysfunctional
anything
ass.
else.
Like she said,
I'm
they
out.
need a kiss. They just need a kiss.
They
That's
do.
what
I've been wanting them to do that. I mean, like, just get it over with so y'all can fuck and then we can get back to Mythic Quest.
Oh,
Y'all just need to get it out of your system.
Ian and Poppy?
I love when
Yeah.
Ian
Dana.
and Poppy.
Oh God, I hope they never get together. Oh
No,
God,
no,
they're
that's
But
so
they're not
wrong.
gonna do it until the end of the series.
I hope they
but they're
never.
gonna do it.
Then. I don't think they
Yeah,
should do it.
I think this is Liz limiting Jack. I don't ever want them hooking up ever. He's there.
But it's to that whole thing. It's like they just need to kiss. Yeah, they do.
I don't
Or
think they need to
kissing.
do that.
If they kiss, realize like, nah, this ain't working. I don't. ever-
Something they get it out of your system. I need it to be out of their system so they can continue making games.
I don't even think they have that. I think they're just.
I think there's no sexual attraction between those.
I don't think there's any sexual
No.
attraction. I think they realize they've been
I-
together so long and they worked well together.
Because even when she pulled up and she was like, well, let's have an orgy with his ex-wife. And she was like,
Yeah.
never have
They were
an
like,
orgy
no.
with Poppy.
No,
And she's
but
like,
when Poppy said, "You're missing out," because I
Right.
do great or
I
whatever.
do sex very well.
And
She
they
was
both
like- She was
Her
hilarious.
ex-wife was like, "What?"
What?
Yeah, right.
But
right,
everything
right.
Poppy, because that's who Poppy is. She kept
Yeah.
saying the brunch, and I'm
The
the
brunch.
best.
The
at
brunch
sex.
was my favorite.
And I have friends, and he's like, your parents include you on a vacation.
Why?
They went, yeah, he
It's
said
like-
they went to Honolulu without
Right,
you.
like,
Without you.
and Poppy
Oh.
just doesn't get it. So I don't ever want Poppy.
Yeah, I don't want
hook
that.
it up.
And I
ever.
think that the school episode sets that well when she's the student eager to work with Ian because she loved his game. It was the game that she played in the first game she played on the internet that she fell in love with.
I actually think Mythic Quest is over with. I think Dana and them.
I don't think so.
crush it.
I
think
think
they're crushing it.
I think they're
I
gonna
think we
release-
get the same thing we talked about what Courtney just mentioned in that first episode and how that studio fell off. And I'm thinking we're seeing the cracks in Mythic Quest. And by
it's
the
gonna fall.
end, they're done. I think this is the Targaryen point. This is like it was at the peak, and now we're going down.
Yeah.
And we're slowly going to start.
I think season 4 is where Mythic Quest falls apart. But it's because Dana releases a similar product to Playpen, but outdoes Playpen because she has the vision that Ian has built into her, and she has the hands of Poppy, where they're still going to be fighting each other.
Still going to be fighting, and then there's no CW there. It's kind of like the core. What you talked about earlier.
But
the
Rachel's
core
going to be able to
Mythic
monetize
Quest
the shit
is
out of
gone.
what Poppy
It's
makes.
broken.
Exactly. That's why I said
I think
I'm
Rachel's gonna
surprised
monetize
Rachel
the
hasn't
shit.
gone.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think she's
monetize
going to
the shit
Dana.
out of Playpen. She's gonna. I think she's gonna monetize the shit out of Playpen. And
Yeah.
In
her
a
and
good way or a
Dana-
bad way?
You can't go to
her
Dana
and
'cause
Dana
Dana's
gonna
got
fall
bread.
out. I think her and Dana gonna fall out.
I think they are too.
I think they are too.
Yeah,
I think that
they
they're
are, too.
ultimately going to break up
Because
Dana and Rachel.
Yeah, because Dana is gonna be beating Mythic Quest's ass, and Rachel is not gonna be able to handle it.
And Brad, because it's like everything that Brad taught her.
Yep.
So
but Brad is always he's Palpatine. He didn't teach her everything.
But in the last episode, Courtney, Brad had to come to light moment where he's like, I don't want to be bad anymore. I want to do good shit. And I'm gonna do good shit with Dana.
Yeah, he started changing. He had a really good arc. You could see him start to change.
In the last episode, he went before the parole board, and they told him he was off parole, like he had served his time, and he had done great and stuff. And he was just like, because they said now you can get a finance job again. You don't no longer have to be the janitor or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore. He's like, he's like, I'm at a real crossroads. I want to find a new challenge.
Yep, new challenge. Do something different.
So yeah, they all hooked up. And I think And did it show their elevator going up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they took over the Grandpa.
Yeah, so
did
went up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
As they should have.
I think Mythic Quest is done, the company, and I think we get maybe 1-2 more seasons, and we end with like them closing up shop.
And and
Dana, Courtney, what we didn't mention, like you were right. So Rachel, David had put out this thing like, anybody who's got a big idea, we need an expansion. Anybody who's got a big idea, bring us the idea. It can come from anywhere, and we're gonna push it. And nobody had an idea worth of shit.
Right. Everybody was trash.
Rachel ran to Dana downstairs, downstairs, upstairs, wherever the hell it is, and said, hey, I know that you hate working for Ian and Poppy, and they're faltering, but we need somebody to be the creative director and run this new expansion. And you're the perfect person to be the new creative director. Come on back to MQ. And she said, nah, if I learned anything over this last year, I don't need that shit. I don't need they dysfunctional shit. I don't need MQ. And then she changed the whole sign from Grim Pop to whatever the name
Studio Dana.
And she said, I know what kind of boss I want to work for.
That's me.
That's me. All right. So we got anything else we want to talk to before we rewrite this thing? All right, I'm gonna take silence as affirmation. I'm gonna start with you, Courtney. How are you gonna re-rate Mythic Quest?
Well, after our conversation, I could talk. Like I said, I really felt like this season was more weighted. It was more grounded. And for me, I guess I think I was bothered by it because I wasn't quite ready for that shift. Like it wasn't something that I prepared for because I didn't laugh as much. But I realized there really wasn't anything necessarily laughable, especially in those beginning parts, because they literally were trying to figure themselves out. Like each and every character had its own mission, so to speak, and they were on this grounded journey because they were all comfortably uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So I guess for me, it became more of a story of storytelling, whereas before it was a story of just jokes within this chaotic world of gaming, So, I mean, I can't go up high because, again, I still have a problem with you breaking your own mold. But I will take it up to a mini meal because the storytelling was solid, even though it bothered me. The storytelling was solid. But, Chuck, you said they jumped the shark. Why did you say they jumped the shark?
Because Grim Pop had that big ass office and looked like a damn spaceship. It's like, where'd they get all this money from? And why did Ian do this?
Well, Ian said that he spent a lot of his money. He was almost down to nothing. But
they ran out of season.
Should have been putting it in the product. So let you know he was satisfied at the office because he had no say in the game. He had no skin in the game whatsoever.
And he created a cubicle. He tagged his elaborate design, and she was like, you created a cubicle.
Oh, that shit was
That
hilarious.
shit was hilarious. That's what made him mad.
Yeah,
That's what made him go to the
thought he
roof
was
and
really
piss
doing
him
something.
off.
And she started laughing. I'm like, you created a cubicle.
Yes, because what was it? He had that damn futuristic name for it and stuff. This, this self-actualization pod. She's like,
Yeah.
It's like, it's a motherfucking cubicle, dude.
She said, "Where's it at? In the middle of the office? What shape is it in?" Oh shit!
So,
I
Courtney,
laughed out loud. I was on the ground rolling.
you're taking it up to a mini meal?
I'll take it up to a mini meal. Y'all have encouraged me to finish.
Cool.
I was done.
You're done. Okay, so let us know how you finish. Rikai, what about you? How are you gonna rate it?
I think I'm gonna stay at a mini meal. I really do love Mythic Quest, and I love seasons 1 and 2. But like to Courtney's point, this changed from a comedy to a dramedy, and that first half of the season. I mean, maybe they're setting stuff up for season 4, but it was not particularly that strong to me.
Yeah.
Weren't hitting. I found myself more
Chuckling.
often than not, watching the back of my eyelids. I just,
Yeah.
I'm glad the back half of the season picked up and gave me hope for season 4, but mini meal.
I won't go up any further than that, because if you lose, if the first 5 episodes, I'm bored to tears. You can't come back from that. I can't take you up higher. That's just for me. That's just my opinion.
Oh, okay. So mini meal for you, Rikai, as well. So for me, I was fine with all the expositions and the changes. Is it going for straight being funny to like this kind of dramedy? And I'm perfectly fine with that. I thought it was actually some of the best writing that it's had in the first 2 seasons. I still don't think it reached the level of seasons 1 and 2. I just thought seasons 1 and 2 just nailed it down so tight. It was just revolutionary. But I really did enjoy this season. It's just not enough to make it up to a full binge out. It's almost a prisoner of its own previous success for me. So I'm gonna stick firm. It was a full meal. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in season 4 if we get a season 4. So I'm gonna stay firm with my full meal. Chuck, what about you?
Keeping it a full meal. I don't understand how y'all didn't laugh. I laughed like every episode. I laughed out loud a lot of times throughout the season.
I wouldn't say I didn't laugh. I just didn't think it was as funny.
I laughed. I thought some of the jokes hit for me. Some of them were industry jokes, and I felt Megan Gans and Charlie Day were talking in it sometimes. And I felt these are Charlie Day jokes. Hopefully they bring him in as a character. I would love for Charlie Day to show up as a character.
Well, I feel like he's in Montreal. I feel like if Montreal ever comes to town, it has to be Charlie Day.
They have to bring Charlie Day into this. I think that'd be awesome. Like Montreal's interested in Dana's studio, and they're interested in him. And the guy that passed up on Poppy's project because she told him to suck his duck actually is the guy he best in Dana's studio. I want to see all that hilarity. I just feel like that's building in my head. I'm still gonna stick with a full meal though. I would love to make it a full binge out, but like you said, it's a prisoner of the first 2 seasons, which were incredible levels of television.
Yeah.
Like this and definitely Ted Lasso made Apple TV worthwhile.
Yeah, man. It made me renew my subscription. If it wasn't for that, I would have never done it.
I've watched a lot of stuff on Apple TV, but nothing hits like these 2 shows.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So that gives us a
Schmigadoon.
Schmigadoon does too. It hits 2. That hits 2.
And I just can't believe that I tried to get y'all to do Schmigadoon and nobody wanted to do it.
I'm down with Schmigadoon. I love musicals.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I think it was Trey that said no. Trey was like, I don't want to do that, and then turned out liking it.
Yeah, I saw it the day it came out. It was like a
Me
musical.
Too.
Oh yeah.
I've heard from All Mankind. I've heard of that. I haven't watched it yet.
I watched that too.
I haven't seen Slow Horses.
I heard Slow Horses.
I did the first 2 episodes of Slow Horses.
I just hate the title.
All Mankind. Slow Horses is about a spy league. That's sort of Slow Horses is what the British
okay.
It's what they call
Oh, okay, it's about spies. The
about
title's
spies.
stupid.
Slow
People lose
horses.
me with stupid titles.
No, they have a thing called Slow
The title's
House.
called Spies.
I said it's about spies. Oh, okay, I might watch it.
Spies.
It's like when I found out the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I was like, what the fuck is this? Why can't you just give me a name that like I can get behind? Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's like you're trying to give me a fucking tongue twister. It's too much work.
He thought it was about
Slow
Santa
horses.
elf spies. They're Santa
do you
spies.
take? Is it the Pony Express that you take to get to where you going? Because it was kind of fast.
But
Like I'm just so confused. You know, I'm easily confused. I know I sound like an old granny.
Slow horses.
I sound like somebody's an old grandma. What you got me watching this slow horses? I don't do these horses slow. Why they slow?
Exactly that. Exactly based on that.
I can hear if I get a grandkid, they're like, Grandma, just watch it. What is the title Slow Horses? Who didn't thought of this? Like that's
I like the horses fast. You ever watch the Derby, baby?
You ever been to Derby?
I
went to the Kentucky
I'm from Michigan, baby. We're north of Kentucky.
On the Kentucky Derby, I like them horses. You know what I'm saying?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Ain't nothing slow about our horses.
I mean,
we make horsepower.
Even in the cars, they got the horsepower. You know, you got the
horsepower.
V8.
Detroit, horsepower. What are you talking about slow?
Who wants to see a slow horse?
We got e-cars now.
Just gonna turn them into glue. Slow horse just gonna get turned into glue. Why I'm gonna watch this?
No, Slow Horses and Foundation. Damn, Rodney's just dropping all the hits. Apple TV got hit.
I never seen that.
Foundation's on the list. It's on the list. They just dropped the trailer. It's so cool. So, but that is going to bring our score up to, they got a trailer out there, 3.5. Okay. So we can round that up. We can round it up to 4.
Well, I hope that girl got some acting lessons in these 2 years since it's been away.
Wow.
All right. Rikai, you got anything to say before we head out, man?
No. Just looking forward, man. We got some excellent weeks of reviews coming up, man. So
I feel like we should do Slow Horses now that I didn't have this whole grandma conversation.
Is it done yet?
So I can bring Granny. I can get a Granny wig and have Granny do a review. Now let me tell you about these slow horses.
Yeah, I think they have 2 seasons. There's 2 seasons in on it.
Chuck, you got anything to say before we head out?
No, I'm excited for this year. This is a great start. I think Mythic Quest is a great show to start with.
What are we doing next week?
We are doing...
Excellent question. Kaleidoscope, right?
Not Kaleidoscope. Hold on. I gotta hear.
Next week, you're out, right?
Oh, I am. Right. You're doing a show.
Well, Willow. Right now.
Oh, right. Willow. Yeah. Willow finishes this week, right?
It finishes this week, right?
Today.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna try and call in because, like I said, I'll be an hour ahead. It all depends on my schedule.
Yeah, we know
my production schedule, but I'm gonna try really hard.
Oh Lord.
Yep. Willow. Chuck, got anything to say before we head out, man? Chuck, you guys say anything to say before we head out?
No.
Okay.
I'm excited for this year. Hopefully, we have some really interesting discussions. I think this is a great one. We were definitely all over the board.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about good stuff. Cool. All right, man. I
got something to say. I hope everybody has this year and has a good year, and that they all have fast horses. Okay, I just want to hope everybody has a great 2023, and all your horses may they be fast.
May they be fast. May they be.
Sounds like a
cheers to that. May they be fast, Courtney.
Yes, may they be fast, Governor.
Shouts out to Digital Click. They provide all of our overlays and our surroundings. If you are considering a marketing promotion for your company, your organization, please consider Digital Click. Thanks to Rodney, Eye in the Sky. He's the man behind the tech, our transitions and everything. Thank you for doing that. And I want to say again, the Geekish Network, man, here for people of color. We got writers, we got directors, we got actors, we got, trainers, we got everything. We got people in front of the camera, behind the camera. We do this to create content for people to look like you. So please support us. Share us on your socials. Share us anywhere. Share us everywhere. Share us, however. Make us a priority in your life. We're going to be back here next week. Same geek time, same geek channel. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.